As a freshman at the University of Tennessee, I was a starting safety. I was the defensive team captain. Every week we played in front of 98 to 100,000 people. But at the same time, off the field, I was a wreck. I had gotten to a point where I was drinking all the time. I was trying to mask pain and insecurity in my life. And at some point, the things that were falling apart for me off the field began to affect me on the field. And when that began to diminish, everything was a wreck. Growing up in my home community of Hall's Crossroads, football was everything. Sports and football, as I look back on it, was my God, and God was kind of alongside, for the ride. There was something inside of me that was starting to eat at me, that was still missing. And that something was unknowable for me. I didn't know what it was. So I tried to fill it with another thing, which was football. As I navigated through my freshman and sophomore year of college, from an athletic standpoint, everything was on the rise. At the same time that things were going up athletically, my entire life was getting worse and worse and worse emotionally. And for the first time in my life, genuine depression started to creep into my life. There became a breaking point where my athleticism and my performance began to decrease. And I can remember specifically playing in major SEC games where in the locker room, I was having a panic attack before the game, and yet I would just fake it and stuff it and act like, as a football player, I've got to push through this. 8 games into my sophomore season, they pulled me and started somebody else. For the first time in my life, I'm sitting on the bench. And the weird thing is, I actually felt relief. I was glad that I didn't have pressure. I was glad that I could just hide. And in the midst of my hiding, I began to drink even harder. And my life was just covered in a dark cloud. In the midst of my pain, Jesus led me to see a Christian counselor. And he began to talk to me about truth. And he began to talk to me about God's design for life and humanity. And the way I was choosing to live would never result in peace or joy or contentment. As God had been working on me week after week, month after month, I just said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And I went home that night and broke down and prayed and said, Lord, I surrender to you, and I need you bad, and I can't repair my life. Will you come in and help me? One of the interesting things that happened as a tail end of this whole story was that I had been given, is the way I'll put it today, I've been given the gift of clinical depression. I woke up miserable every day, and the only thing that burdened my heart was a desire to love and comfort people who were in pain like me. While getting my master's at Covenant, God led me to the inner city, which started by me just playing basketball with a bunch of guys on the playground. Eventually, I realized that's where God was calling me, and I moved into the community, and this became a part of my life. What I began to learn through this process by living in the community and by being a part of it every day was that people are not an agenda. They're not your project. That people are in your lives for genuine relationships. And they impact me, and I impact them mutually. And I just began to realize that God had used the pain in my life to help me relate to other people in their pain. I've been married for the past 14 years to a wonderful woman, Mary, and she shares the same passion that I do for the inner city. And we have 3 amazing kids, 10, 8, and 6. And in a crazy way, 9 years ago, we started a ministry to inner city teenagers on the north side of St. Louis called Urban K-Life. This ministry, Urban K-Life, is a direct expression and extension of the gospel. We go hang with these kids. We get a chance to impart truth and love and fellowship and friendship and just walk through life with them. This whole ministry is all about Him. It's about loving people with the goodness and grace of how He's loved us.